his work in Leicester, particularly the engagement with the Montfort University and the Leicester City Council in the Black History Month, which is actually underway now, and how that's engaged the international diaspora in the city, and how you create engagement with young people, particularly from the international diaspora, and connect the academic side of it, the community, and the young people themselves. I don't see that happening over here, so that's I just want to make a comment on that.
Thank you, Ken. Mamadou?
I set up Global Hands about 3 years ago with some of my students. And we are a social enterprise, and we do a lot of work in the community. We engage in kind of projects with young people from deprived neighborhoods, disadvantaged young people. We take students to the Gambia. In fact, we raised about $1 million just to build a community development hub in the Gambia, which should be open in the next 4 weeks. So my role kind of like is mixed in that as an academic, I teach, I research, I do all of that stuff. But I'm also part of like Global Hands, which is being supported by the Montfort University. And we're doing a lot of work, from publishing books to working on projects within the community, to doing international development, to developing chapters where we've got Global Hands at the Montfort University, Global Hands Leicester, Global Hands Gambia, Global Hands London, and we are engaging in all of these dimensions. Because for me, it's not only about the talking, it's also about the action. So what we're trying to do is actually to bring about the change that we're talking about. So we're doing a lot. I wish we had time to go deeper into this. But I've got the annual report of Global Hands that I can share with you, which actually highlights all of these things later. Thank you.
One of the things which Momodu highlighted was the various definitions of what it is we're trying to do. Now, my question is, if we want to do something and achieve something positive, we all have to be clear as to what it is. So, like, how do we really achieve something when we haven't been clear as to what it is we want to do? Thank you. We haven't really arrived at a definite definition that everybody understands.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a very good question.
I do think that's really important, and I would have to say, like, in our context and in the context of the university, we are very much, I suppose, embracing the notion of global youth work as distinct from development education, and we're not doing that in any way to be disrespectful of development education. But I think what we're trying to do in some way is to embed it much more into our understanding of what youth work is and how it is that you do youth work, and that all youth work should have a global sort of sensibility to it. I do think the thing is, I think it's really important to try and look to what we have in common rather than the differences between us, because there are lots of definitions that are out there that all have a different resonance for different organisations, perhaps, or that organisations are maybe wedded to historically. And so I think the big challenge is, rather than maybe coming at one agreed definition, which could take quite a bit of time, but it might not, I might be wrong about that, is to actually look at what are the things that are in common across the definitions, and where we can find common cause in order to be able to work together. Because I think it's given the different contexts and the different sorts of organisations that are around all the various tables here, you know, not everybody is going to be involved in doing global youth work, but as a youth worker and youth work educator, I am, so that's the definition that makes sense to me. But I also see then that I have good connections with other people who share some of those same concerns, but are maybe working in slightly different contexts.
Mamadou, you had a particular take on it?
Yeah. Just to share something first. About 3 years ago, some of my students who were with me for 3 years, they gave me a present at the end of their course. And they gave me a black T-shirt with gold lettering. And it had on it, "So what do you think? SALA 2011. Because they say I never answer their questions. So the way they got back to me was to say, "So what do you think?" And for me, that is deliberate. Because part of global youth work or global education is about developing critical literacy. And you have to build your own theory. I think that's a process. I carry my own burden. I have gone through my own struggle. You, before you could really, for me, effectively work with young people, you have to carry your own burden. You have to go through your own struggle. And you have to look at all the other things that are out there. And you build your own theory based on your own understanding, based on your own experience. So sometimes I run away deliberately from giving people one simple answer, because that is imbued by my experiences, you know, which might be very different from other experiences. So if I can expose you to a lot of different conceptual models, to a lot of different perspective, and you choose and reject what helps after a critical interrogation, then my job is done, my brother.
Mm.